Hello, welcome to Soccer Yanks. This is podcast number 8. I'm Dave,
And I'm Dan.
and we're here live from Podcast Central. Well, actually, we're not live. This is going to be recorded.
We're always live.
We're alive.
We're always alive, but never live. May 23rd, Thursday night, here in good old America.
Yeah, it's the Thursday before the Champions League final. A lot of things happened in the last week and a half. Finally got final spot for next year's Champions League solved in the EPL.
And as I had predicted many weeks ago, Arsenal is going to the Champions League for an astonishing 16 in a row, 17 in a row. And Tottenham is not. It was actually a very, very tense last day. I mean, the only two matches to watch the only two matches that had significant impact on the teams on their respective clubs was the Arsenal match and the Tottenham match.
Yeah, it was the only thing that didn't have anybody who didn't really want to go or had an extra season ticket or some sentimental Paul Scholes sort of thing.
Right, like the West Brom was very red. Was very red for
the Man U game turned out to be
for me
it was a heart-wrenching game because it looked awesome, but 10 goals, I mean, I can't complain as a soccer fan to see 10 goals scored, even if they let the last goddamn thing go. Seeing last Paul Scholes 2-footer to somebody, worth it.
You know what? You know what makes that little match, that little tidbit even more special is that it's a record. There's never been a 5-5 draw in the EPL.
Really?
Yeah, and of course
SAF
leaves on a record
fitting.
Like the son of a bitch is just like crapping on the league as his way out.
I didn't hear that. Oh, let me get one last one.
But so the other two matches, Arsenal versus Newcastle at St. James, very tense. Arsenal needed to win. They were playing with a lot of pressure on them. They looked nervy. They didn't look like the Arsenal from the last 12 weeks that had been very, forward, very aggressive. They were very scared. It was the Arsenal of September. Like, we can't let up a goal. We can't let up a goal.
Playing on eggshells.
Yeah, and then when they got the goal, it was like so much relief. It was like incredible. But then, they became even more entrenched in that, we cannot let them draw. We cannot let them draw. And they needed a second goal to really relieve the pressure. It never came. So, the last 15 minutes, I was ripping my heart out of my chest. Newcastle never really came close. Not very close, at least. And, their defense has been spectacular the last 3 months. Spectacular. Best defense in the EPL the last 3 months. Second best defense overall in the entire league. Surprising. Most people would say Arsenal's biggest flaw is their defense, which in the beginning it was, but they recovered. Overall, they let up the least amount of goals. Second least amount of goals, behind only Manchester United, I believe. Which that shocks me too, but that's a whole other story.
Well, yeah, considering you never had the same back four for any consecutive game, there was no continuity.
Right, and then in the Spurs match, Spurs Sunderland. I mean, it felt like no matter what the Spurs were doing, they were not going to score a goal. I mean, they had one that ping-ponged in front of the goal, hit the post and be off a guy and here, and you just think oh, this is just going to get poked in. Never, it just cleared away.
Not for them.
And it just looked like, oh, it's not going to be their day. And of course, eventually, towards the end of the game, Bale is an incredible player. He, again, it's almost like he's turning... his highlight reels are starting to become identical. People are I'm surprised that clubs are still...
Letting him go
letting
with the
him
left foot.
Cab that left foot.
To give it to him.
Right. And it's almost... He's almost pulling a little bit of a Robin. He's switching sides... He's coming to the right, and then he's cutting back to the left and getting that curler on the left foot.
Ripping him right in.
I just don't... I mean, when you watch it develop, you're like, wait, what
Everyone knows what's happening.
What are you doing? You know, like, obviously he's so good. You know, they know what's happening. They can't stop it.
Yeah. It's like the Tide.
But Spurs winning was not enough. They needed Arsenal to draw or lose. So, see you in Europa. St. Totteringham's Day came the last day of the season this year, but it came.
So that's that. So now we have United, City, Chelsea, and the Gunners will be in.
That's the representation for Europe. Well,
for Europe.
Arsenal has the playoff game. They play somebody else to get into the groups.
Okay.
So the fourth place is not automatic group. Only 1 through 3.
But they still get a piece of the pie.
Yeah, and knock on wood. Typically, the playoff game is against someone of a lower caliber.
Monaco.
Well, I don't want Monaco this time. They're gonna. They're not in it, but
Bad example.
Monaco is gonna come back. Is gonna be the next PSG.
Got a big injection of cash in there, huh?
Yeah, ridiculous. But
it is nuts.
I mean, we had. I think 2 years ago we had Dortmund. They weren't as good then. I believe. I think maybe I'm getting it wrong. The year before. No, 3 years ago, Dortmund. 2 years ago, Udinese.
It's a anytime any teams in the Champions League gets open, unless it's some Scottish team, they tend to do terrible for some reason. I always have my fingers crossed for the Rangers. I don't know why when they used to be in it. Well, I'm not going to see that for like 10 years, but if I'm lucky ever.
Yeah, they're
if Scottish football even holds out, but I like seeing like this weekend. Dortmund is going to be against. It's not going to be a Barcelona. It's not going to be a PSG or a Juventus or I can't say Man U, but Man City. It's refreshing. It's like when Porto made it. You know,
Monaco made it 2004. I think.
Yeah.
I think that was the year Porto won. It was.
Yep.
They beat Monaco. No, absolutely. It's good. I like the variety. I like seeing variety. I like seeing some change. Unless we're talking about my own club, and I'm sure the same holds for everybody. You know, the only change that people want to see for their own club is improvement, and everyone want to see decline. But just to close out the EPL, so the droppers, the relegators, mount up.
Yeah, it was no surprise. That last 2 weeks, you kind of saw the end was coming there.
Well, when the penultimate week before last, when Wigan lost, that was it. So Wigan, Reading, QPR, c'est la vie. Good luck. You know, hope to see you again.
Cardiff, another Welsh team's coming up.
Yep, promoted Cardiff. So now we have 2 Welsh teams in the Premier League, which what's Swansea and Cardiff. Hull promoted again. Maybe they'll bring back Josie Altidore.
Hip hip Jose!
And still to be determined the third promotee.
Palace, Watford.
Yeah, Crystal Palace and Watford have a playoff. I think Monday.
Interested to see how Zaha does. The
Man
signing.
the Man U signing that
See
plays
if,
for.
He was what got him into this position now. He had the brace. He scored 1 goal. They drew, and then he scored the game winner eventually.
Now, that's a little. It's a little bit. It's going to be a little. I believe when he signed the contract mid-season, I don't think he felt like he would be playing his previous club in the Premier League. And now, if they win, he gets to play his previous club while on Man U in the Premier League, which is kind of like, I didn't mean it to be like this, guys, but that's just the way it is, I guess, right?
They're there.
Yeah, I mean he's got to be happy for them to be there,
listen,
right?
If you're a supporter and you know that you have a 19-year-old English superstar, and you're a supporter of a championship team, you have to expect the big boys are going to come eventually. If that guy who's going just so happens to be in that last game that gets you into the playoffs, and he gets you in there, when Man U goes to Crystal Palace, that guy better be getting a standing ovation. Because, I'm not predicting the future saying he's going to do anything, but you got a hard position because your team made it. I'm not saying he did it himself, but
No, I understand absolutely. Like
because there's a lot of animosity going on now.
I mean, even semi big clubs feel that. Even big clubs feel that your star player. There's only probably 4 teams in the world that don't have that feeling. 3, 4 teams in the world: Real, Barca, Bayern, Man U. Like everybody else, even your Chelsea, Arsenal, City, like players can be plucked from there. So I understand what you're saying, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't feel maybe a bit of a blunder. Like, I thought I was going to leave them behind, and now they're going to come with me.
I thought I was going to forget about him.
Yeah.
I'm never going to see him again.
And now I'm going to be reminded.
I'm moving to the West Coast.
Right. I'm never going to see these fans again.
I'll miss you.
Right.
I'll think about you when I'm packing my suitcase.
I'll never be back in the stadium again.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Whoops. It's just funny predicament. Just interesting. I'm sure he's leaving on pretty good terms, especially if they get promoted. That's great terms. I mean, not maybe some supporters would say like, what could we do with him still going forward? But he's 19, right?
He's an English player.
Is Palace really going to be a powerhouse? Is that? Maybe. I mean,
If he comes back and Kung Fu kicks him, now that's going to be a problem.
right.
But moving on. I actually, you know what? I didn't. It might be unfair to ask you this right now, but wrapping up the EPL, moving on to the Champions League and the transfers.
I'm so excited to hear what you're going to say.
If you had a Santa list for one player to bring to Arsenal for next year, who would it be? Just one. If you could say, "Here, dear Santa, send me anyone," and save the Messis and the Ronaldos.
Yeah, reasonable,
Yeah.
like within the
Something
realm
that would
within the realm
happen.
of possibility.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what position it is. It's striker, because not that Giroud doesn't have potential still. Not that Podolski can't play down the middle. It's just that neither one of them, I think, are
Number 9.
world class. Thierry Henry,
And
Robin van Persie.
a top 4 EPL striker.
Yes, that's what we need. A top 4 EPL striker, we'd have been competing for the title. I'm not saying we win. It would be a closer race.
You wouldn't have been sweating the past 3 weeks.
Yes. We're linked right now. Higuain, the guy from Fiorentina, what's his name? Jovic.
Djokovic.
Yeah.
No.
Jagielka plays for Everton and he's a defender.
Sorry.
The wish list guy. The wish list guy is Lewandowski. To me, that's the wish list guy. But Pipa, Higuain, I take him. I think giving him an opportunity to be the number 1 guy
He wants to be.
to really not have to some of these strikers, I think they're such princesses, like Wayne Rooney. Oh, I'm getting subbed, or they need to feel like Torres needs to feel like he's on the pedestal, like he's right. And if they don't, and they're like, it seems like so many of them they're so fragile. So I think maybe Higuain. I'm not sure. I hope maybe that's the situation. He could be a guy that maybe he gets put on that pedestal at Arsenal. He gets that clear number 1 spot. Maybe he does something special. Wish list would be Lewandowski. I think realistically, it's going to be Higuain.
Cool.
Although they're saying some reports today that he's about to sign a 4-year extension with Real. So, no, excuse me, 4-year deal with Juventus, not Real. Juventus.
Juventus has been linked to everybody though. Chicharito a couple times. I hear his name every other week with them.
He's another guy. I think if Rooney goes, he stays.
Oh, absolutely. Especially off the bench.
Right.
And you never know. When you never can have enough depth
if you're in the Champions League and you're in the English Premier League and you want to play in the Carling Cup and the FA Cup.
Yeah, 4 competitions, right? So, who's your Man U? And this is basically anyone in the world except for 2 players. Even not 1 player, Messi. He's the only guy that's off the list. Everyone else is a possibility.
It's true. Realistically,
Just 1. I know you've got like 7.
I emailed you a couple of them.
I know.
I would love a Victor Wanyama from Celtic, the holding midfielder who could play up front.
Yeah, I
He's
know
got
he is.
Crazy header, jump, strength. I think.
Well, I think that's
for
very...
moving forward for the future. We have a Kagawa. I think Rooney's going to leave. There's too much tension. The whole David Moyes drama that's come out of nothing, based on when he was like a 19-year-old, 20-year-old nut job, which I guess apparently he still is if you have it in Holland, allegedly.
I don't know. I think well, the Rooney thing, I think it's not so much the Moyes thing. I think he knew he wanted to leave because he was playing second fiddle. You know, this is all right. Let's look at his perspective. Very, very good player, right? Very good striker. Couple of new strikers come to town. He gets moved out of position. When it comes time to being subbed, players getting subbed, there's players that are playing worse than him. He gets subbed. You know, quote unquote, a Red Devil legend, or at least living legend or potential legend. I mean, he's done some amazing things for Man U. He's been part of some amazing teams. Okay, all right. So he asked for a transfer request once. He came out publicly and said, "I'm sorry, worst decision I ever made." SAF kind of covered for him, helped him out, got things back, got the supporters back on his side. Second time around, he's not. There's something that's. I don't think it's the Moyes thing. Something is not doesn't give. Has got to give. You know, something is not right. Something is not right. I think he just. I think he wants to go. There's something there. You know, I think
the time has come. The doors open and time to move on. Nothing now. I think in modern. I think right now we're seeing the last of the career superstars fading out. I think there's way too much money. Way too much money. Way too much hands exchanging for people to have a 18-year career, 20-year, even if they survive injury-wise, and media-wise, and fan relationship-wise. I mean, it is really hard. Carragher, Scholes, Giggs, Gerrard is another one. How many other people can you think of that are currently still with the club have been that long? Do you think moving forward that still exists? Besides like Sean Derry on QPR?
I'm going to go on the record and say I think there are still some. I think like a Jack Wilshere is going to be with Arsenal. He's been there since he's 9. I think he's going to be there his whole career.
Well,
but
his whole career, if his ankles just stay the way they are, his whole career might be 3 more years.
No, he's fine. This next surgery is to clean up scar tissue from his previous injury. That's the.
No, I'm saying, but that's a lot already. That's what I'm saying.
He was playing. He could have kept playing. It's one of those like let's get it fixed up now that it's off.
Well, it's in the shop. Change the clutch.
But I do think it's a rarity. I think it's going to become more and more rare, and I think it's only going to be a possibility for the major clubs. Like you're never going to see a Matt Letizia again that stays at Southampton his whole career.
It's so unfortunate.
Just not, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to see those guys just because of the dynamics. If you're that good, I mean, you can see it with lower level players, right? I don't even think you'll see it with Premier League, because if you're a lower level player and you're on a mid-table team, it's likely, if you're one of the better players, it's likely you're going to be plucked, because that's what happens.
Stand out.
And if you're in the middle or down at the bottom, eventually the team is going to be like, we need to improve at this position, and you're going to be sent away. So it's a very vicious cycle. I think maybe, the game's become so incredibly global. But I think there might be, a point where almost like like when a star gets very old, it gets so big and then it starts to shrink down on itself. I think the game could potentially become so global that the xenophobia kicks in, and some of the leagues start coming back to the old policies. Like, oh, there's too many foreign players. You have to have minimum 7 nationals, and then maybe they get a little bit more restrictive. So I think it's cyclical, and I think if you do that again, if that xenophobia does kick in, and they say no, let's kick some of the foreign players out, then you might see that potential again for players to be homegrown and stay with the club, because now there might be less movement and everyone wants to hold on to their talent because talent might be harder to come by. Potentially.
Interesting.
That's only assuming that football is cyclical. And that xenophobia does not mean racism.
A soccer ball's a sphere.
That's true.
Xenophobia does not mean racism. No, it doesn't. It does not. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun off season. I think there's so many, not even just with the free agents and people with transfers, but there's so many empty holes in the managers' positions, and there's so many free agent top flight managers out there. It's gonna be
a circus.
A wonder show. Yeah,
it's gonna be a circus, and it's already started with the. I mean, I almost stay off like Reddit and Twitter because like every day, this team is linked to this guy and this, and then like I think especially Reddit not so much, but on Twitter it's just like I don't even know what is it. Is this a real source? Like it's just like back to my 3 buckets. Pick a player, pick a league, pick a team, and make a story up. Yeah. I found the guy who makes the fish and chips. He's linked to Cardiff. Exactly. So, I mean, sad. The EPL's over. There will be no football this Saturday. Oh, wait. There's still that one match.
Oh, we still have MLS, but we're going to talk about that one match.
Yeah.
Dortmund und Munich.
Yeah, all German final in England.
They finally made it to London. 60 years.
It's like the
and they did it in soccer form. Who'd have thought?
You
think Michael Caine would have been able to pull off some sort of a victory?
He would have required an American goalkeeper and a Brazilian midfielder.
Wasn't there a Frenchman or an Italian in there too?
Yeah, I've only seen the movie like once or twice when I was a kid, so I don't really remember. All I remember once is there's a scene where Pele, they're looking at a chalkboard and they're talking tactics, and Pele's like, "You give me the ball here, and then I dribble, and I score a goal."
And it's really dramatic, and it's a chalk piece that goes, "Yeah."
And they're like, "No, that's not going to work." So, start. Give me the lowdown. Give me the lowdown.
This there isn't much pre-drama with the exception of the goat situation, which is sort of a national crisis in Germany, from what I've been reading, sports-wise. I think they're more focused on the economy over there, but
well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to make a very interject and make a very general statement. I've been to Germany a few times now, and I've interacted with mostly businessmen from Germany, different from the northern part, some of the eastern part, and like Frankfurt area. Nothing down in the south. No, not too many businessmen down in Bavaria, but all the businessmen I talk to, not one of them is interested in football. Very, very small pool of people, like 10, 15 guys that I've met. Not like one or two of them are kind of like talk about it a little bit, but like for the most part, they could care less. They're like, no, I'm into motocross, like, like they don't care.
I like highlight.
Yeah, they're like they didn't really care. So I almost feel like football might be in Germany where it was in England, 40 years ago, where it was like it's still like very a working class, you know. The guys I dealt with are business owners. Like I'm not. That's just who I'm dealing with. They're my
Soccer fans are the middle class, and
Right.
there is a middle class in Germany.
right.
That and that, I think that's you could argue that's why they've been so strong as the Bundesliga financially is because economically there is a middle class in Germany. They are the model for what most of the people in financial crisis. A lot of people are arguing that they're what's keeping Europe afloat.
Yes,
The German
absolutely.
economy. So I guess you could argue that the result of there actually being a middle class is the strength of the Bundesliga can relate to that. No,
So, I'm going to take it one step further. So then, let me ask you, who in Germany is supporting Dortmund?
Dortmund, the people in the terraces.
Well, I mean, meaning class-wise. So
The
do you
middle.
think of so let's say, all right, if the people in Germany had to pick between two of the two teams, they only had two teams to pick for that they had to support. Where do you think the majority's going?
FC Hollywood or the People's Team,
Yeah, the people's team.
the working man's team,
Yeah.
Dortmund.
Right. Stereotype
They're
or not?
They're the team of nobodies. The young kids, they work together. One guy leaves, somebody else comes up and fills in their spot. They pick up they pick up the shovel and they keep digging.
It's very Bolshevik. It's very Russian army. Just pick up his rifle and go.
Yeah,
But oh yeah, okay. Because I kind this is one of those tricky finals where I think a lot of people are not vested at all, right? Like a lot of at least the people I talk to, I'm not really vested. Like I want to see Dortmund win. I like to they're quote unquote the underdog, although they're I think Forbes or somebody put them as 11th on the football list.
don't forget. I'm sorry, go on.
But there's a lot of generalities and a lot of stereotypes. But like I think this is one of those funny finals where people in the EPL, who are they rooting for? People in Spain, who are they rooting for? Not even all right. So like it's easy if Real made it. We know that the Barca fans would be cheering against whoever Real, cheering against Real. And like if there was an English team, like I didn't want to see Chelsea win the Champions League.
It's a true neutral, but it's a big game.
It's a very big game, but it's very neutral. I think it's going to be like watching the Olympics in the sense where I'm watching two competitors go at it that I have no vested interest in. It's like Lithuania versus Hungary in powerlifting,
You just want to see a good game.
and I just want to see
You
something
know it's gonna be good.
intriguing, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to get.
Entertainment value, absolutely. Because you know what, there's two totally different sides. You have the little brother Dortmund wants to prove that they are Bundesliga as well. It's not just Munich. They're not just this isn't just a one horse race. And Munich has still got a chip on their shoulder. What happened at the Allianz last year? They have unfinished business.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And they want to raise the cup. And
three out of the last four finals.
Schweinsteiger, can you imagine what's going through his head right now between Germany for the past 8 years and is underperforming?
Robin.
Ro-
Underperforming in every major tournament he's been in for Holland.
Flopping Robin.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's disappointing because Dortmund isn't going to be playing with goats, and that's what the storyline is going into this. Him leaving and burning the bridges with the fans, and maybe would have had a chance for one last. Hey, tip my cap. Here's a nice back heel. Here's a sweet cross. Whatever. A goal.
Right. Well,
But now he doesn't even have that.
Well, it's funny. You had sent me an article from the Guardian that had an interview with Klopp, and he had talked about the whole goats situation, and he said, I spoke with him and I said, if you wait a year, they're going to still call you. If you wait 2 years, they're going to still call you. If you wait 3 years, they're still going to call you. because of who you are, because of how good you are. They're not going to stop calling, because basically Bayern told him it's now or never, and Klopp tried to convince him like that's nonsense. It's never going to be never. And then Klopp went on to like become a little philosophical and basically say like, no, I understand, I get it, I get being whatever, how old he is, 19, 20 years old. You want to see the world, you want to try, you want to see different things. He's like, but what you don't realize sometimes is not necessary, not that there's anything wrong with wanting to see the world or that you can't see the world. Is that sometimes it might suck.
Not worth seeing.
Yeah. So I mean, he was a little. I'm sure he was a little hurt. He said they had to call like 7 or 8 players that were like basically like, we're not good enough without him, and like talk him off the ledge and say, no, we're great, don't worry about it. I definitely think you know what this whole him not playing, him hurt, his hamstring, this whole 9 reminds me of? The reverse conspiracy theory of the 1998 World Cup final with Ronaldo. Big Ronaldo, the night before the World Cup final, was having epileptic seizures, epileptic or otherwise, I don't know, but he was not doing well, and this is all hearsay and rumor. I have no idea. Okay, this is what I've read. And a lot of the players were very concerned for his health, but basically a phone call came in from Nike and said, this is the biggest name on our lineup in the biggest game in the world. He has to play. Doesn't matter. If he's okay, he has to play. And basically the whole team was playing basically thinking that this guy's going to drop dead on the field. And that's why they played so crap in the first half.
It had nothing to do with Zidane.
No,
I'm
well,
just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yes, thank you. It's a conspiracy theory. I started it with that. I put a giant asterisk.
You did lead it in with
put
the
a giant
tinfoil hat warning.
This seems almost reverse. Like, we can't have a guy wearing a Puma jersey winning the Champions League against the team he's going to play for. That's an Adidas team. Like if I wanted to believe in conspiracy theories, which I think we talk about every week,
cash rules everything around me. Get the money,
cream.
dollar bills.
Cash
is king.
It almost seems like, no, you can't play. You can't play. We own you already. You can't play. It's a hamstring is always the best injury, right? It's always hamstring. You can't play.
Of course not.
The guy can walk because it's one of those injuries that you can walk around fine, right? Off
push,
pitch, but you can't push. So it's a perfect injury to have to not be able to play.
You could pull up. You could pretend like you were limping. Yeah.
So that is a big storyline.
If your conspiracy theory kind of holds water in my eyes, because there's an incredible amount of money that we don't know about being spent on advertising and shoes and jerseys, and how many clubs does Nike have in London versus Adidas?
Yep.
We can't have another Nike player playing in Arsenal or in an Under Armour jersey if we have to sell more Adidas boots. We can't let Milan, AC and Inter go Adidas and Umbro because Puma wants to go,
Right.
So let's put this player here and try to, a lot of moving
actually,
parts.
Puma's making a big move. They just signed the biggest shirt deal in England history with Arsenal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be Puma. We're going to be Puma shirts.
Nice.
Nike still has one season, so the home jersey will still be Nike, the same one that they had this year. But this following season will be Puma, unless Nike cuts the deal short.
So how many Nike teams are in London? Adidas is Chelsea. Mm-hmm. Adidas
Under Armour. Tottenham. Fulham is
Macron.
No, I thought it was the two girls. What's the Italian company?
Kappa.
What are the Hammers? No idea.
West Ham, I think, is Macron. But this...
I think there might be... what was QPR?
Lotto.
Yeah, I think there might be no more Nike teams in London.
And this is my conspiracy theory for Ronaldo coming to Manchester because Nike's contract is up soon.
Yeah, they're going to
Manchester.
They're definitely going to sign the biggest deal. They're going to break the Puma deal. I'm sure of it.
And Nike is desperate to have a stranglehold on a global brand to sell their shirts on. Mm-hmm. Think of just try to quantify. Just imagine a number of how many people walk around with a freaking picnic table Manchester United jersey from the past year, with Robin van Persie the highest selling. Just his name is the biggest selling one. Not to mention just a blank jersey. Right. Losing that kind of selling power.
And it was a picnic table.
It looked like a goddamn Italian freaking restaurant.
I know.
Tablecloth.
Made me very hungry every time I saw it.
Everybody's seen it. We don't have to go into it. But that's a lot of money. The amount of selling power that is. And to have the potential for their global brand, Cristiano Ronaldo.
I see it. I think there might be some water there. I just wanted to reel us back. We were talking Champions League.
Oh,
we've gone way off.
The KFC.
All right, we got to come back to the reservation.
Hold on, let me crumple up my tin foil.
All right, so Goats doesn't play. This is a one-off now, right? This is a neutral zone, one game. You know, I kind of, you know, it's funny. I feel like cheated that the Champions League final is just one game. I feel like you always have a second chance the entire tournament, and then the last game you can have one 20-minute bad blip, and your whole tournament is done. You know, because of whatever. But I mean, whatever. It is the way it is. It's fun. You know, it's very exciting, and it makes for very, very dramatic broadcasting.
Well, that's it. It's the circus is what is turned into the entertainment now.
We'll get to that. But do you see Dortmund? I mean, I guess they can do it. They've been able to do it. Use their fast pace counterattack against that bond, because I feel like they have some overlap. They're not the same team at all, but I feel like the efficiency and the speed and the physicality, they both have that. Like how are we going to see them? What tactically are they going to do different?
Well, I think that's what it's going to come down to: who can exploit what and how and to what extent. The speed-wise, physicality-wise, technicality-wise, they're all very, very, very highly skilled, very fast, very smart, athletic players. There really aren't any holes defensively, midfield, from front to back. They can get.
Hummels is hurt. He says he's going to play, so
and Goat's
that
not
could be
playing.
And Goat's not playing. That could be a big deal. I don't think Bayern's getting any major injuries. They've been resting people for like 5 weeks.
They haven't need to really do anything.
That can actually bite them in the ass, maybe.
Rust,
right? A little rust. Although I think they rotated some guys in.
Well, they did. I think they just played the Copa, the final, for their domestic cup too.
Yes. I mean, I think this is going to be a nail biter. I think this might come down. I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be like
a 2-1 kind of thing. 2-1.
I think. Yeah, I think 1-0 would be too nervy. I think it's too big of a game for it to stay 1-0. I think 2-1 Dortmund. I think might be I still think Dortmund can do it even without Goats. I mean, they've done it. They did it.
They have Royce. They have Lewandowski. They have Blaskovsky. They have Gutungan. They're all fantastic.
Yes. He's Turkish.
He's of Turkish descent. He's German. I think he's from Berlin, that area.
There's a lot of Turks in Germany. It's gonna be a little. I think it's gonna be a little bit of smear on this Bayern legacy. This, it's funny. Klopp has a really, really funny quote that I wanna share with everybody here. He goes. They're basically. They were asking him like how he feels about Bayern, right? and he goes how he feels about Bayern and about them buying goats and like the whole kind of like the dynamic. He goes, "What can I say? If that's what Bayern wants, it's like James Bond, except that they're the other guy, the villain."
He's a funny guy. He really he's got a great sense of humor.
So I kind of feel like I think like Dortmund's got I think they really have. They feel like they have the moral ground. They feel like they're the working class team. They feel like, look, they stole our star player. You know, like our players keep getting plucked away from us because we keep developing these great guys. And I think they got like something like we can do it, like the little engine that could kind of thing, but not really the smaller engine that could, because they're really not little. They're a powerhouse too, really.
The underdog, in there, but they're a capable underdog.
It's an underdog. It's like saying Microsoft is the underdog to Apple. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not. All right, maybe they're not both. Maybe Dortmund's not a mega team, but they're maybe they're a Yahoo. Like they're big enough to buy Tumblr. They're
blue chip.
They're blue chip. It's underdog in the sense that they are just lower than.
Okay.
But definitely makes for a great football match. I mean, a nice rivalry.
You can't go
and
wrong.
you got so many puns, so many German puns you can use. So it's going to be a
save
great.
them for the next episode.
It's going to be a great Twitter day. So something that we kind of like touched on a little bit, and I've been bouncing around in my head. The idea that where is football going, in the sense that, I mean, and we are essentially a cog in this wheel, right? With this podcast, even with the things that we talk about, some of the things that we're interested in. It seems like football is becoming so much more about off the field drama, what the managers say after the match, what the players say after the match, transfer market, rumors, what they did in the nightclub the night before. Like, there's like a paradigm shift on what is important. It's become less important about what actually happens on the pitch. I mean, because that essentially that's what we all love, right? It's the 90 minutes. It's the 90 minutes that ball is rolling around. But we spend an absorbent amount of time talking about everything outside of it. Is it because, I think there's some good things and bad things about it. Is it because the game has grown so much? The players are not just a player, and then he comes home and he goes back to his day job. He plays on the weekend. Like he's become larger than life. The managers have become larger than life. And essentially, they are a living reality show.
I think that's a result of the broadcast networks who own Fox or Sky or ITV or ESPN. It's turned into a 24-hour news cycle, just like the news channels. So to feed that 24-hour machine, you have to rake the shit at the bottom of the river. So every little Odom Wingy going to the wrong door, demanding to get going and being locked out because he wants to get transferred, gets picked up, where 20 years ago it would have been something everybody would be laughing about 2 weeks later. Like, oh, did you see Odom Wingy?
Right. It would be an inside joke.
It would be between writers, and nobody would really hear about it.
Or between the players, right, yeah.
But since it's a 24-hour news cycle, there's 50 cameras outside of Loftus Road because it's deadline day, and they're not going to make it up. What's Harry going to do?
Right,
it's a giant crisis.
We have 4 hours of SportsCenter a day that we need to fill.
And you have, the kids in the background with their nipples fucking, and the guy's like trying to keep cool, and the guy's giving him the finger, and it's the circus is created and it's sustained by the same it's the same system that gets fed. You know what I
Right.
mean? If we wanted to, we could broadcast a live stream 24 hours a day. You know, our wives would not like it, and we wouldn't smell very
we
well.
we could do a 1 hour live show every day. We could put it on Ustream.
Yeah.
It would be crap production value.
What
but we
content
could.
would we talk about?
We're eventually going to be at the bottom. I'm already thinking about this summer, and I'm like, oh man, we're gonna have to start watching the MLS, aren't we?
It sucks. And it's like those systems are fed by the same thing. So, you know, when you have a Sky or ESPN or whatever, Fox Soccer not really, but Sky, they have to be able, they could spend money to send these people out and create this shitstorm constantly.
Right. Plus, but I think.
Okay, it's like, the Klopp interview. The Klopp interview 2 weeks ago. He starts asking about this English reporter starts asking him about Kagawa before he answered that question you were talking about earlier.
Yep.
He asked him what his position was. He said, "Where are you from?" He says, "I'm a writer from the Sun." And he goes, "Oh, I didn't know they had writers." You know what I mean? Like,
right.
There's the people in soccer. They can't obviously call it out because if they did, that's.
But okay, I'm going to propose this question now. I everything you're saying, I think is very true. But is it the chicken or the egg? You know, which came first? Did the network come first, or did the people's rabid desire to have this information come first?
Well, people always want to know what somebody else is doing, especially a multi-billionaire, because they want to know how that lifestyle is.
Especially their heroes.
They go out and
they're the people they
bleed themselves into.
Yep.
For 90 minutes when they escape their jobs or their wives or their kids or whatever the hell it is. And what happens is the clubs, as much as I think they want integrity in their fans and the fans want integrity, the clubs know just as much how much money they are making now as a result of this 24-hour news cycle. They have rabid people who are constantly checking their Twitter feeds. What's going on with Gareth Bale? Is he staying or is he going? Is he going to sign a contract? Is he going to sign a contract? There's people who are like want to kill themselves over it because they're getting so worked up over these stupid little freaking things and saying ridiculous things, racist things, abusive things, getting themselves arrested for what? But that's I guess social Darwinism, right? They kind of weed themselves out,
right? So I mean, so it's both. It's both, right? It's both.
One hand washes the other.
Yeah, I mean, it is both. You know, one couldn't exist without the other, and one. The spark was the love of the game, and putting, and making the game, of religion. Essentially, you know, putting it as a centerpiece, an escape, the ultimate escape. You know, the Saturday afternoon, you know, to completely let go of your working class life and just
alter ego,
just be on that pitch with those players, you know, vicariously. And because of that escape, you know, it grew, and they wanted to live like them and see what they're seeing and do what they're doing, and then, you know, you want to know if your beloved, you know, player is going to leave, is going to stay, your manager, you know, this guy's...
What's the next round?
You know, he's bled for us. Is he going to stay? So I get it. My only qualm, I'm okay with all this. I could sift through the crap and the nonsense. My only qualm, and I know that, you know, and we because we enjoy it too, and I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. I think we also overlook, like, the technical aspect of the game. Not that I love the technical aspect of the game, but sometimes I even overlook it. Like, I think about, like, the spirit and the mentality and the confidence, and I think about all this other stuff, and I, like, forget about, like, the plain old X's and O's, you know? It's just because of, it's a mountain. It's a mountain over your head of, like, all this other stuff.
Well, yeah, because you remember the story from 3 weeks ago, we all know now, every time that Luis Suarez and Patrice ever get together, there is going to be, whether or not they say anything or acknowledge anything, we all know
Right.
something happened. Every time Ivanovic and Luis Suarez is going to be near him, you know he's going to be like this.
Well,
with his teeth covered.
Well, that's why you don't feed the llamas at the zoo.
How many times I can't imagine how many times Eric Cantona has somebody go kung fu kick to him, something like that. You know,
Well, actually,
probably the last time they ever do it, but
well,
some people still do it.
I'm pretty sure there's only been 3 guys.
Nobody does that to Vinnie Jones
Vinnie Jones will just headbutt
or
you.
Ferguson from Everton.
So I mean, we're contributing to that, and I can live with that. I'm okay with that. I was just wondering how you felt. It's okay, but there's definitely a paradigm shift. Definitely a paradigm shift, and it's only getting bigger.
It's like TMZ. It's a TMZ kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not old-fashioned sports journalism. It's not covering stories. It's not the stories. It's covering stories, but it's not the context of the stories. Is a lot. There's a lot less filtering.
It's about wags and clubs,
Swag,
and popping bottles.
making the next meme, the next GIF, whatever.
Right.
It's all good. It's fun. It makes it a lot more entertaining. But it does get overwhelming sometimes. Like there's a lot of cringe factor in a lot of the stuff. Like Odom Wingy is a perfect example.
So, well, I mean, I guess the only thing I would say is I'm going to try to interject more technical info because that's what I and less rumor and transfer nonsense this summer. Maybe that's what I want to do. I don't know. Next week when I forget about this,
We'll work on it.
We'll work on it. Right. Next week when I totally forget about this, I'll just go right back into my Gareth Bale was out drinking again. Yeah. But I also want to retract my comment before.
He was out with lamb chops.
Yeah. A baron. I do watch the MLS. I'm just joking. It will not be torture. I watch it already.
Red Bulls have been doing some really awesome stuff.
Yes.
The Henri goal, the Cahill goal last year was good. But we're going to start shifting now. We are soccer Yanks, and we never want to stop watching soccer. So the MLS will be there, and we will still continue to cover. And all of your English Premier League and European transfer tripe.
Right. Coming to you live 24/7 from Dan's basement.
Once a week.
Plus, we got the Confederates Cup, and I think we're gonna
Qualifiers, too. World Cup qualifiers?
Yes. We'll touch base on a lot of stuff this summer. We will also, I think, maybe we have some. We've been saving up some kind of broader topics that are not specific to the current events that we could talk about. I think we have some follow up on doping we could talk about. Definitely, there's some news coming out on that.
We want feedback, and if you have anything you want to bring up, any things that we haven't mentioned that we should, or you thought were interesting topics, please do not hesitate to email Facebook Soccer Yank, either of the Twitter handles at Soccer Yank Dave or at Soccer Yank Dan.
Yep.
Facebook SoccerYanks.com. Everything.
Yep.
We listen.
We listen.
Respond.
Thank you so much for everyone that's already been listening and giving us some feedback. We've had some total strangers giving me feedback, telling me either we like sending me emails or commenting on the blog.
It's awesome. We love
Been
your
really
support.
cool. And really, if you're still listening at this point and you think that we suck a bag of dongs, let me know.
Yeah, why are you still listening?
Why are you still listening?
That's 8 hours of your life you're never getting back.
Well, if this is the first time you listened and you went 50 minutes deep and you're like, these guys, I mean, this is like a Louis C.K. bit. Like,
well, don't give us that much credit.
No, bad. Like bit of his. Not.
I got you. The early stuff.
So go ahead and let us know. And we're evolving. We're evolving. We're trying to get better. Ranting a little bit right now, so. Let's
cut ourselves off.
Let's cut it off.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll
catch you next time.
I'll catch you soon. Hope to hear from you.